Oh my God. Wow. Good morning, everybody. I'm trying to set up something here, but I have to do it on my phone because for some reason the app I have doesn't want to do it on the app. So just give me 1 second. You'll probably see the lights transforming behind me. I did that wrong. Damn it. That goes there. That goes there. Oh, wait, no, that's wrong. So to that. There we go. Yep, almost done. Okay, blue. Damn it. There's white. Is it working? I don't see it working. Is it working in front of me? Oh, that's because I'm doing it on the wrong one. Blue. I will just have to copy and paste. I'm sure I can. Come on. I didn't think about this until literally like 10 minutes ago. Okay, that's working. Save. Now I should be able to do this here. Hey, there we go. It's not. It looks a lot more white than it does. Save. I should change those lights. There we go. Good morning, everyone. We are 10 minutes from the top of the hour, 10 minutes from the beginning of our recitation. Clyde, what's up? Clyde says, Jay's running over stealing King's Thunder. I don't think he's stealing my thunder at all. I'm honestly really happy Jay went live, but also slightly annoyed that they didn't stay in D.C. for the freaking celebration. Why would you not do that? Jay should have called around and said, hey, who can drive me back to Florida? Because somebody would have driven him back. Good morning, Marianne. Good morning, Elite Super Grunt. I hope you are having a hell of a weekend. It is July 4th. It is our birthday. And there's just nothing better. There's nothing better than celebrating the true definition, the true purpose of Independence Day. And it is giving a giant middle finger to the communists. That is the point of it. I think we can all agree with that. Man, I wish I had that song. The right. Fight for the right. Oh, and I got a new friend. Say hello. Hang on. There we go. I got me a little mascot for the weekend. Real American. For the right. The one of the really cool things about Water the Rebellion this morning, and then all of the other videos that the government is sharing, the fan pages, all that stuff. One of the really cool things is seeing just an extreme level of patriotism that we never saw under Biden at all. Freddie says, Jay sent me. Well, everyone coming over from Welcome to the Rebellion, glad to have you over here, guys. And this is one of them. This is from the United States Marine Corps. Okay, there we go. I was going to say, we need some explosions, guys. Okay, Court, that was a little disappointing, I'll be honest, guys. I expected more from the Marine Corps. Risk it for a biscuit. What's up, man? How you doing? Risk it and I were very disappointed to hear that that Jay had a very bad experience at Cookout. That was very disappointing. Years of gaming, let's fucking go means looking for group. That's hilarious. Excuse me. Yeah. Well, so I'm kind of hoping it was one in DC. Maybe it was like a Northern Virginia one. But yeah, the worst thing I've ever had at Cookout is when I get chicken wraps with no sauce on the wraps. Sometimes they'll end up putting ranch on it, and that's the only thing that kind of sucks. So, who what a freaking dumbass. Hang on, I'm gonna block this guy. Who saw the drone show over Japan? And I'll bring Jay here and fight. So this is just incredible. Look at this. That's a great ally right there. That's someone who is happy to have a relationship with this country. And that was such a cool photo. Now, obviously, we've already seen a bunch of the videos earlier, so I'm going to try not to just completely repeat everything we saw on Welcome to the Rebellion.
Items that never intended to end.
But I'll tell you what. Rubio continues that will he, won't he run. Every single time Rubio speaks, you have to listen to what he says, because there's such an intelligence there that I think is, and a love for country that I feel is completely lost on 95% of politicians.
250 years ago today, a small band of men gathered in Philadelphia and declared war on the most powerful empire on the earth. They pledged their lives.
You know, I don't think people really understand that anymore. This wasn't. I think people see movies like The Patriot, and they see movies like what else is there? TV shows like Turn, Washington Spies, and I don't think they understand just what the British Empire was. In 1775, when the Brits marched on the ammo supplies in Concord, and the Massachusetts Patriots fired on them on the Village Green on April 19th. That was, imagine walking. Everyone here knows, probably is aware that they've got a National Guard in their state. Okay, imagine walking up to that military base and just starting to shoot people. That's basically what happened on the Village Green. You had a bunch of people who, for all they'd ever done is shot at deer. Some of them may have participated in the French and Indian War, the 70 Years' War, sure, but the vast majority of people in this country during that time had only ever shot their rifles at deer, shot their muskets at deer. And they walked out onto that Village Green, told the most powerful army on the planet, stop, and then they fired at them. It is remarkable to think that people existed with big enough balls to do that.
They pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to the cause of their posterity. Many of them would lose everything in the revolution. Their homes burned, their land ransacked, every last pound and shilling to their name poured into the patriot struggle. Some would die as paupers. But that was a price that each and every one of them was willing to pay, a price they were willing to pay for us, for me, and for you. Because they understood something that free men have always known, that there are things more precious than wealth, more valuable than safety, that there are great causes more important than even life itself. The men who signed the Declaration were writing a new chapter in the story of an ancient civilization. They were heirs to the English tradition of common law and liberty, to the Christian moral imagination, to the Roman idea of republican virtue, to the whole expanse of the Western memory, stretching from Athens and Rome to the Magna Carta, to Jamestown and Plymouth Rock. Our founders knew that liberty was not an abstraction floating above history. They knew that parchment promises alone could not make a nation free. The Soviet Union's constitution promised freedoms it never intended to honor. Many failed states and tyrannical regimes have borrowed the words of rights and liberties. But a constitution is only as strong as the people it belongs to. America has never been merely a proposition. It has always been a real and living civilization, a unique and distinctive people, unlike any other nation or people in the history of the world. America is an exceptional nation because Americans are an exceptional people. We are a people born on the edge of the known world. We are a frontier nation.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
From the hardy pioneers on the Oregon Trail to astronauts transcending the limits.
Ask Mo about that. He was there.
America made the frontier a principle of national life. The men who built our country were heroes, among the greatest and most noble that the world has ever seen. This is the greatest nation on earth. That has been true for 250 years. And with God's grace, it will be true for the next 250 as well.
Yeah, I love the fact, let's finish it off. I love the fact that everyone is leaning into Rocky as history. Like, Rocky is just, it's absolutely, it happened. It happened. Elite Super Grant says, Kings, look up Samuel Whitmore. Samuel Whitmore is the 80-year-old man that died in 1793, who was stabbed 7 times with a bayonet and killed 13 different people at the bridge between Lexington and Concord. It is an incredible story. If you've never read about it, and I'll pull it up in a little bit, but it is now 12:01, which means it's time. Let's mute that. Common Sense, beautiful pamphlet. If you've never read Common Sense, you should read it. Okay, clearly I've lost my place. There we go. In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such forms as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former system of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for such the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people will relinquish the rights of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the repository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasion on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers incapable of annihilation have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migration hither, and raising the conditions for new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone, for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has effected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to these acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial for punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule in these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is, at this time, transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy of the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas, to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrection amongst us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attention to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and a consequentity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation, and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. The foregoing declaration was, by order of Congress, engrossed and signed by the following members: John Hancock, President; New Hampshire, Josiah Bartlett, William Whipple, Matthew Thornton; Delaware, Caesar Rodney, George Reed, Thomas McKean; Massachusetts Bay, Samuel Adams, John Adams, Robert Treat Payne, Elbridge Gerry; Maryland, Samuel Chase, William Paca, Thomas Stone, Charles Carroll of Carrollton; Rhode Island, Stephen Hopkins, William Everly; Connecticut, Roger Sherman, Samuel Huntington, William Williams, Oliver Wolcott. Virginia, George Wythe, Richard Henry Lee, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Harrison, Thomas Nelson Jr., Francis Lightfoot Lee, Carter Braxton. New York, William Floyd, Philip Livingston, Francis Lewis, Lewis Morris. North Carolina, William Hopper, Joseph Hughes, John Penn. New Jersey, Richard Stockton, John Witherspoon, Francis Hopkinson, John Hart, Abraham Clark. South Carolina, Edward Rutledge, Thomas Hayward Jr., Thomas Lynch Jr., Arthur Middleton. Georgia, Button Gwinnett, Lyman Hall, George Walton. And Pennsylvania, Robert Morris, Benjamin Rush, Benjamin Franklin, John Morton, George Clymer, James Smith, George Taylor, James Wilson, and George Ross. James Wilson was a judge. And that is the Declaration of Independence. And I've got some things that I'm going to say about that, because not only is it probably one of the greatest documents ever written in Anglo-Saxon history, but there are stories throughout it that I don't think people think of when they see that, when they read it or they listen to it. But real quick, let me hit this. Clyde comes in with 5 gifted memberships after screaming that I need to wear my wig. No. And became a member. Welcome to the kingdom. I have an asset for that. So throughout the, we get 2 kind of intro paragraphs to the Declaration of Independence. And it's the entire reasons behind why they're doing this. And then we get the evidence. And the one that I always love, remember, John Adams signed this. John Adams was the great arguer for the Declaration of Independence. In fact, if you watch the play or watch the movie 1776, William Daniels does a fantastic job of showing just how almost annoying John Adams was about independence. I think I'm right about that. Let me double check if I'm right about the year. Uh, 6 years earlier, almost exactly 6 years earlier, John Adams had spent months defending the British soldiers who fired on the Boston crowd and during the Boston Massacre against Boston. He spent months defending them, and they were found not guilty. And then, months after that, the king and Parliament order every single soldier charged with a crime to be shipped back to Britain to be to be tried for whatever offense they may have committed. And that is one of the things that really broke John Adams, because John Adams was an ardent loyalist. John Adams actually probably would have become I forget what the job title was over in colonial America, but he would have become Attorney General of Massachusetts. He would have become the #1 state attorney for the colony of Massachusetts until George III ordered that, because he had just spent months. He had basically lost his entire practice because he believed that they deserved. What does this mean? Marker created a 3025. What the fuck does that mean? I just had a thing pop up and tell me. I don't know. I'll ask Jay what that means later. He'll probably know. John Adams had lost his entire reputation and his entire practice because he believed to a fault that those soldiers deserved whatever reputation or representation they could get. And when King George orders that it means absolutely nothing that a Boston jury found them innocent, it broke him. And he said, to hell with the king. Then let's see. For suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. Every single time a governing body in the colonies argued against something the king did, he absolved that body because they were all royal commissions, basically. So when the House of Burgesses, which had been and until it got redefined in like the 60s, I think, was the longest serving, continuously serving legislative body in history. It's served longer than the Roman Senate. It's served longer than the English Parliament, because, remember, Parliament's been broken up and dissolved several times. But when it voted with William Lee, who was one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence from Virginia, when it voted with William Lee's resolution, which is what William Lee brought to Congress in June 16th to be the Declaration of Independence. The royal governor of Virginia shut down the House of Burgesses, had everyone arrested. Well, went to have everyone arrested. They had fled. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble of terms. You remember the Patriot. Remember when Benjamin Martin, Mel Gibson, tells Chris Cooper, the colonel for the militia, that we should go before the king. And Chris Cooper says, we've done it before. He says, well, we should do it again and again. The Congress sent like 6 different petitions to the king, and every single one of them was denied. In fact, and I don't think I have it here, but let me see if I can find it online, because this was really the kind of the straw that broke the camel's back during the First Continental Congress. King's response to the olive branch petition. So the Congress sent what's called the olive branch petition to King George III, and it basically was like, hey, like, all of this stuff's happening, and we don't really know if you know about this, but it's kind of making us angry. Please intervene. Please, we want to be your subject. Please get, not Congress, please get Parliament to stop being assholes to us. And that's genuinely what it said. Well, not genuinely, generally. And this was the reply from George III. Whereas many of our subjects in different parts of our colonies and plantations in North America, misled by dangerous and ill-designing men, and forgetting the allegiance which they owe to the power that has protected and sustained them after various disorderly acts committed in disturbance of the public peace, to the obstruction of lawful commerce, and to the oppression of our loyal subjects, carrying on the same, have at length proceeded to an open and avowed rebellion by arraying themselves in hostile manner to withstand the execution of the law, and traitorously preparing, ordering, and levying war against us. And whereas there is reason to apprehend that such rebellion hath been much promoted and encouraged by the traitors, correspondence, counsels, and comfort of divers wicked and desperate persons within this realm, to the end thereof, and none of our subjects may neglect or violate their duty through ignorance thereof, or through any doubt of the protection which the law will afford to their loyalty and zeal, we have thought fit, by and with the advice of our privy council, to issue this our royal proclamation, hereby declaring that not only all our officers, civil and militarily, are obliged to exert their utmost something. It cuts off. You can't really read it. Vows to suppress such rebellion and to bring the traitors to justice, but that all are subjects of this realm and the dominions thereon, dominions thereunto belonging, are bound by law to be aiding and assisting in the suppression of such rebellion, and to disclose and make known all traitorous conspiracies and attempts against us, our crown and dignity. And we do accordingly strictly charge and command all our officers, as well civil as military, and all our obedient and loyal subjects, to use their utmost endeavors to withstand and suppress such rebellion, and to disclose and make known all treasons and traitors conspiracies, which they shall know to be against us, our crown and dignity. And for that purpose, that they transmit to one of our principal secretaries of state or other proper officer due and full information of all persons who shall be found carrying on correspondence with, or in any manner or degree aiding or abetting the persons now in open arms and rebellion against our government within any of our colonies and plantations in North America, in order to bring to condign punishment the authors, perpetrators, and abettors of such traitorous designs. Given at our court at St. James, this 23rd day of August, 1775, in the 15th year of our reign. God save the king. That was his response. And that is the thing that solidified. Remember, right after that, Ben Franklin said, "We will all hang separately." No, yet. Hang on. We must all hang together, or we will all hang separately. That's what it was. Wow, Caleb, good job. But that's what this whole thing is about. This whole thing comes because not only was King George III kind of an asshole, but he just didn't give a shit. He thought he went all the way back to Charles I, who basically just thought his divine right of kingship was wherever the fuck he wanted it to say. Instead of realizing that we're fucking Americans. One of the things I love about this, so there's a couple really cool stories about the signers. Okay. And I forget his name, but what was the radio host guy in like the 60s? Paul Harvey. Paul Harvey's got a really cool thing about the Declaration of Independence and the signers that I'll probably play in a little bit. But there's a couple other stories that I know personally that are pretty cool. So Caesar Rodney was one of the signers for Delaware. And Delaware had 3 representatives. 3 people that voted, and how it worked, and I didn't know this until recently. I say recently, until about last 2 or 3 years ago. How it worked is each delegation basically voted, and if that delegation voted, more yes than no, then that state voted yes. Delaware was split 1-1. George Reed wanted yes. And Thomas McKean saw himself as kind of an aristocrat, and he wanted to stay with the British. So he voted no. And they had a straw vote on like June 30th. And there were 2 or 3 states that were outliers. They just weren't voting, with the exception of the South. A lot of the South wasn't voting or was voting no because of language in the original draft that supported the destruction of slavery. There were a lot of Southern aristocrats in the Second Continental Congress that did not agree with that. So after John Adams got and Ben Franklin got Jefferson to strike that language, the South finally came around. But one of the really cool stories was Caesar Rodney. So Caesar Rodney was, while he was an elected representative in Congress, he was back home because he was basically dying. He probably had like a week or 2 left to live. And he and John Adams sent George Reed to go get him because they needed Caesar Rodney to break the tie for Delaware. So George Reed rides out to Delaware. It's a day and a half ride on the 30th, or it might have been the 29th. I think time has to make it the 29th. Caesar Rodney rode the entire night to get back in time to vote. Man dying, literally found on his deathbed of mouth cancer, rode the entire night, aching joints. I think he had hernias, all this stuff to get back in time to vote. Another really cool story is Lyman Hall of Georgia. Lyman Hall was a pastor and a doctor. And he shows up June 1st, let's say, early, about midway through the Second Continental Congress, okay? I think it was about maybe 2 months before the vote, before Richard Henry Lee introduces the resolution. And he shows up and he basically says, I believe that a representative owes a duty to the people he represents, that if he doesn't know how he thinks that he should substitute his will for the will of the people. And so he continually sides with the South throughout those first several votes and votes no. Until about a week or two before today. So let's call it June 25th. He shows up in the morning and tells John Adams, he says, I've been thinking about this for a while. And I'm paraphrasing all this shit. I've been thinking about this for a while. And I believe that a representative owes it to those that he represents to put their will or their opinion above his own. Unless he believes so strongly in something and he believes that those he's representing are truly wrong, then he needs to substitute his will for that of the people. And he voted yes. Which of course really started kind of crack the South. The final really, really cool story is shown very well in the John Adams HBO show. So who's seen the John Adams show? Brad, I'd highly recommend getting it. Get you a free trial and watch the show. It's excellent. So it does a very good job of showing the argument. Holy shit, Risk It. You're about to have a beautiful next week watching that show. It shows a very, very good job of showing the debate in Congress between John Adams, who led the pro side, the independence movement, and John Dickinson, who led the anti-independence movement. John Dickinson has a beautiful speech entitled "I Have Looked for Our Rights," where he talks about how John Adams has been sitting here debating and arguing that we have these rights. I've looked for these rights and I can find them nowhere, is what he says. He says that the only rights that I can find are those given to us by Magna Carta and common law and all this stuff. And it's a beautiful, and he's still right. He is right. Obviously, we disagree, and we've gotten to this point where we truly believe that not only are we a different people, but that that God gave these rights to us, and it is not the will of the government. It is the government whose job it is to keep themselves from infringing upon those rights. Well, one of the really cool things that happened, Dickinson stayed home. Dickinson did not show up to the vote, the final vote, I think it was, to vote against independence. He realized that that he had lost, so he stayed home. But he was not allowed to continue to sit in Congress. What's his name? John Hancock made a motion prior to the signing that no member be allowed to sit in Congress without affixing his name to this declaration, because they knew what it meant. Again, and for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. You know, several of these people died because they signed this declaration. They lost all of their property. They served in Congress without pay. They gave millions in loans to the military that were never repaid. All of this stuff is true. These were not, I love how Paul Harvey says it, these were not brigands. These were not pirates. They were not rash men. They were the cream of the crop. They were the best that this country had to offer. John Hancock was one of the richest men on the planet. So when Dickinson was basically kicked out of Congress because he would not sign it, he joined the army to fight. And one of the things that I love is that the HBO show shows that. They've got a reading of the Declaration of Independence that happens in the show. I will say I don't love the reading because Abigail reads like half of it, and it just doesn't work for me. I think there's been other shows, other times that have done a better job of having people read the Declaration of Independence. Let me see if I can pull it up. Is this it? Yeah. So this is a scene from the show, and that's John Dickinson right there, who's joined the army. Yeah, Risky came out in 08, and yeah, 73. Giamatti is fucking awesome. He's the second best person to play John Adams. The first, of course, being William Daniels. William Daniels is just excellent. So let's get back to some of this America maxing. Let me see what this is about. Okay, Insider Wire says the United States of America is officially 250 years old. Beautiful. Love it. Absolutely love it. I love these. The other thing that's really funny is when you get some of these organizations and some of these like NGO type things. They're not NGOs, but things like that are having to post like pro-America stuff because they know it's over. They know they're not getting back to, as long as we keep winning, they're not getting back to that place where they got to be communists. This is another one posted. I think it was the Department of the Interior. No, Jay already did the Department of Education one. But I love this, and I'm going to risk the stream game being taken down for this.
Happy birthday, America. It's the 4th of July. Get to wake up in your freedom, but sometimes I wonder why.
This is real, right?
Seem like everybody's pissing on the red, white, and blue. Happy birthday, America. Whatever's left of you. You were the darling when you saved the world. WW1 and 2. France would just be part of Germany now. Hadn't been for you.
I have a suspicion that
all your
AI.
children want to turn you in something other than yourself.
100%.
You burn your flag in the city streets more than anybody else. Happy birthday, America. It's the 4th of July. Get to wake up in your freedom, but sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think this is real. I think this is AI. Hang on. It just looks a little too shiny. Oh. All right, fuck it. It's real. Let's keep listening.
Seems like everybody's pissing on the red, white, and blue.
Okay.
Happy birthday, America. Whatever's left of you. Who they gonna count on? You're not there to take their call. Will the world keep right on spinning without the greatest of them all? Without the helping hand of God, your days are numbered, my old friend. We're still gonna miss you, girl. You were the best that's ever been.
I wonder if it's a state will sue me.
Happy birthday, America.
So he looked really bad towards the end. Like he was super skinny at the end. So this must be more than 5 years old. This must be like 7 or 8. Like probably even pre-cancer.
Most of the time, every time I go to town and bowl, I just come home with the blues. The lesser of two evils, all we ever get to choose. Happy birthday, America. It's the 4th of July. I get to wake up in your freedom, but sometimes I wonder why. Seems like everybody's pissing on the red, white, and blue. Happy birthday, America. Whatever's left of you. Happy birthday, America.
So I don't know if anyone was watching me play Resident Evil 4 last night, which we will be playing again later tonight. But which one is this? We'll come back and watch that one. But one of the things that I really enjoyed was, or not by the game. First off, I loved having Beardo in there. It was really kind of fun to talk to someone while it was really fun to sit there and chat with someone about it. But I brought this video up because obviously he likes sports, but I thoroughly enjoyed this. This is beautiful.
All right.
Why aren't you playing?
More American than Dale at Daytona '98.
I was asking him top 10 sporting moments in American history.
That's Americana 101 right there. One of my favorites, Tiger running away from the field at Augusta. There it is. A win for the ages. Randy Chastain ices the World Cup in penalties in women's soccer. You know what? Forget the list. There's no way to do only 10. The champ, Muhammad Ali, lighting the Olympic flame. Landon Donovan at the death against Algeria. Caitlin Clark breaks the record. What about the immaculate reception? The kick 6?
I remember that.
Vince Young reaching for the pilot.
I don't remember that.
Habs in 7. Tony Hawk sticks the 900. Steph and LeBron teaming up for gold in Paris. Appalachian State beats... Who'd they beat? Lou Gehrig, the luckiest man on the face of the earth. George Bush whipping a strike at Yankee Stadium.
There is an awesome story. Y'all probably heard this before, but Bush was down in the batting pitching cages underneath Yankee Stadium practicing. And what's his name? Number 3, El Captain. Shit. Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter shows up, and it was, he's the captain of the Yankees. He was talking to Bush and all that stuff, and he asked him, he said, are you going to pitch from the mound, or are you going to pitch from in front of it? Because a lot of people pitch from in front of the mound. And he told him, if you do it from in front of it, they're going to boo you. So he'd been practicing in front of the entire time. So he got up, he did off the mound, and yeah, like Tom just said, he hit a perfect strike. I mean, let's look at this again.
The luckiest man on the face of the earth. George Bush whipping a strike at Yankee Stadium.
I mean, that's beautiful.
And what about David Ortiz? This is our fucking city. Jack Hughes without his front 2. John Jones beats Gustafson. Barry Strug goes gold on one leg. In the Jordan flu game, I didn't even have a flu game. Venus and Serena meet in 4 straight major finals. Cal
It's
Ripken
just better.
becomes the Iron Man. Joe Buck.
Ortiz in the deep right.
We'll see you again tonight.
On Fox, by the way. Boise State, Statue of Liberty, pull the upset and propose to the cheerleader. Barry Bonds last, number 73. Rocky Balboa over Ivan Drago. Yeah, that still counts.
Of course it does.
28-3. Come on. I got to give myself at least one. Jesse Owens sticking it to him in 1936. 4 golds in Berlin. Michael Phelps wins 8. History. With Jason Lezak at the wall in the...
I got to meet Jason. I got to meet Jason years ago.
Yes. The agony of defeat, the joy of winning, and the privilege to compete. There's nothing like sports, and nobody does it better than us.
Damn right. No, literally, nobody does sports as good as we do.
Here's to the next 250. It's going to be tough to beat that list.
Yeah. No one does sport like we do in America. We are the best. There was a, part of the, Magnus Opus, if I might say, part of the reason behind making this channel, it's very, very small. But with the hope of, reaching 1 billion people and being able to say, okay, someone find me the Sports Illustrated documentary from 2014 called Sports in America Are Defining Moments. I need that video because it doesn't exist anymore. I need someone to give it to me. Shut up. It's not what I said. Idaho Mike, I genuinely do not remember that game. I remember a lot of them, but that I do not remember. friend of mine is trying what's it called? Whataburger for the first time right now. Okay. JD Vance is in what? Is in New York right now, New York Harbor.
It is a very American thing to ring in 250 years of American history by parading our naval and air force might for the world to see.
Damn right it
I
is.
can't help but consider that 250 years ago, the waters of New York Harbor looked very, very different. While the Continental Congress met in Philadelphia to ratify the Declaration of Independence, General Washington was right here in Manhattan, peering out on this beautiful land and beautiful sea. His attention was fixed on the horizon, watching for sails of the most powerful navy on earth. 1 week before, the British had begun landing troops on Staten Island, and they had landed 32,000 in just over 6 weeks. One colonist still in the city recounted it seemed as if all of London was afloat and heading to the new nation. War was coming, and everyone knew it. By July of 1776, 80% of New York's population had emptied out in anticipation of the coming violence. And that brings us back to our great General Washington. He knew the battles to come would be bruising and would demand much of his men. But they needed to know, through hot summers and cold winters, exactly what they were being asked to fight for. And so, just a few days after the Declaration of Independence was signed, George Washington read aloud the words of the incredible Declaration. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Even today, 250 years to the day later, these words command a tremendous power over us as Americans. For 250 years, they have stirred our hearts, and they've reminded us of who we are as a people.
Damn right. So something really, probably for the first time in my life, I genuinely wish I was in New York City right now, because there's something really cool happening up there right now. There is a tall ship parade. Look, Zumwalt destroyers are cool. Battleships are cool. A fully masted, a 3-masted, fully decked out tall ship is one of the coolest things on the planet. And I get it, but they're having a tall ship parade along New York Harbor today. And I'm genuinely kind of jealous not to be there to watch it. So I think this one's just them watching the same ship. Here's a live stream. I mean, look at this up here. Look at all of those boats celebrating America. You know the thing. Come on, man. Look at that. That's is that Columbia? Columbia sent a tall ship. I think this one's Dutch. We'll see in a second. No, that might be French. Nope, that's not France. I don't even know what country that is. Check it for drugs. Seriously, no idea what country that is. Rendering passing honors. Beautiful. But just seeing all of these ships watching the Blue Angels flying over. Y'all saw y'all might have seen this. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. I don't know. Maybe I can't find it, but it was. I might have to go buy me some Yingling. It's Peru. Okay. Yeah, had no idea. Let's say that down before NBC strikes me. Let's see. No. Oh, is it Romania? Okay, I thought it might have been Colombia. This was really cool. So one of the oh, hang on. What? Disney's gonna be all over me.
This is his cathedral, the crystal dome of umbrella blue sky, whose vaulted ceilings touch the edge of heaven itself, whose faithful join as one to honor those who do not falter, those who do not yield. I speak of this man, who stands at the border.
Joey!
Shy of a god, perhaps, but more than a man. Whose thoughts rise as the vapor of angels, but whose charge is here on earth to teach us that intention is the outcome for those who refuse any other outcome. Hold fast.
Oh man, he looks like he's in pain.
Stand firm when forlorn. Press on when weary, beaten, broken, or undone. How long will he fight? I will tell you. Until he stands on the ramparts of glory overlooking a sea of truth. For he is the champion of now and of always, of the air, of the fire, of the sea, of the land.
Y'all get you a hype man like this guy.
The Nathan's famous 4th of July champion of the world.
Joey Chestnut. The BAP Union. So that should be happening any minute. Oh, I forgot about this.
The stage and bumped into Chestnut, who immediately goes chokehold there. I think he's done that before. Contest officials and escort.
Oh, that's awesome. I want to see. This is the draft. Um, nah, we'll do it later. I was going to read the Constitution, but it's just a wee too, at least in my book, it's just a wee too long. This has been pretty cool. Have y'all seen the new liveries they've been putting on some of these planes? This is a NASA F5. I don't know why NASA needs a fighter jet, but they have one. Who gives a fuck? Keep their airspace clear. Love it. This shit is so cool. I'm so happy to be sitting here watching all of this stuff. Ooh. Yeah, no, that'll definitely get me taken down. Look, babe, another sick USA 250 in it. Oh my God. Amen. Amen. Count your blessings while you have them. Absolutely. Well, today is the last night or the last day that some people have all 10 fingers. Well, I think that's going to be it. I don't really have anything else. There's no there isn't any other edits or anything that I've seen. That video that Chris Gore posted is fucking hilarious. Play the video of the minivan going up from fireworks. I don't know which one you're talking about, dude. Battlefield posted, "What the hell is a kilometer? This Independence Day, we celebrate 250 years of the American spirit. Happy 4th of July. You damn right." 73 transmit for 20 says, "Thanks for the reading, brother." You are very welcome, everyone. I hope y'all have a fantastic July 4th. Go get you a beer. Go get you a hot dog. Go enjoy your AC. Go have some fireworks and celebrate with illuminations, as John Adams said so many years ago. There are genuine things to be angry about and complain about all over this country. But the one thing we don't need to be upset about today is that this is one of the greatest days of our lives. It is the 250th anniversary, the 250th birthday of this country. This country that has led the world in freedom, that has led the world in production, pulling people out of poverty, recognizing that each individual person is a person, that they deserve both respect and dignity, but also recognizing the fact that respect and dignity should not be coerced by the state or forced upon any other person. Where someone who grows up in the poorest neighborhood can elevate themselves through their own hard work. There's so many great things about this country. To all those that have the audacity to feel upset or depressed or sad, think about the millions of people that die every day around the world. Think about the millions of people that spent every last dollar, peso, pound, euro, franc, lira, shekel, trying to get to this country, to be a part of this experiment. Think about that before you black pill and give up. Guys, y'all have a fantastic 4th of July, and I will see y'all next time. Peace out.